Here with the Idea Closet. Welcome to another tutorial for the Cameo Set class. This is lesson 3. It's the final lesson in lesson 3, and we will be working on label 2. Before we get started, I want to show you what label we're making. This is the label that we're going to do, and I turned mine into a Halloween label. Of course, you can do Christmas, birthday, whatever you want. But let's go ahead and get started. You're going to want to go in and find the label that you made in lesson 1. And if you saved it with both labels, label 1 and 2, you can go ahead and delete that first one. We're only going to use this second one. And if you saved it with the rectangle inside, go ahead and delete that rectangle also, because we'll be making a new one. You ready to get started and let the fun begin? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go get our Hocus Pocus digital paper that I had you download. And you don't want to open it up in your Silhouette software. You want to open it up in its own file. So I've got mine over here on downloads, and you're going to find that paper that you want. It's the Hocus Pocus dot paper, and you're just going to drag it over here. And then you can minimize that, close it. Now, as you'll notice, and I've explained this before in previous videos, we have this ginormous paper. Here's our cutting mat. Here's our paper. And then this is the paper that we just imported. And we don't want it that big, obviously. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on it. We're going to come up to our scale button, and we're going to scale that down. I'm going to hit lock aspect ratio. And I'm just going to change it to 6 inches because I'm not really printing this. I just want to grab the colors out of it. So if I bring it to a 6 by 6, just kind of slide it off the paper, I have those colors and we're ready to go. So now we're going to click on this label, and we're going to come up here to our fill window, and we're going to grab our pick tool. I've explained this before, and we're going to come over here and grab the orange out of that paper. So you're just going to slide that around until you have the orange and it shows underneath that box. Go ahead and click on it, and it will fill your label. We're done with the label for just a minute, so we're going to kind of slide it up here in the corner. Next, we need to draw a rectangle, and we need this rectangle to be 3.95 by 2.5. So we're going to grab our rectangle tool, and 3.95, kind of, 2.5, and if you can't get it right on, I never do, use your scale tool. I really like the scale tool. 3.95, make sure aspect ratio is not turned on. 2.5, apply, and there is the rectangle that we need for our label. So now we're going to, while that's highlighted, we're going to come up here to the line color. There's a difference between the fill color and the line color. I'm going to grab that line color, and we're going to turn it black. Next, we want to come up to our line style window, and we're going to change the thickness on that. We want it to be a thick line. So we're going to change it to 5.0, and you can slide it, or you can just type it in, which I think is usually the easiest to do. Enter. Okay. And now we're going to fill this box, and we're going to fill it with the purple. So we're going to come back up here, grab our pick tool, come over here and find a purple dot, and you just need a little tiny dot to pick that up, and now we have our purple box. So next, let's make our stitching line on this box. So we're going to come up here to our offset window. Go ahead and click on that, and we want an internal offset, and we want that internal offset at what did I write down? At 0.125. So we'll come up here to 0.125, and you can hit apply, and you can play around with that and decide how far in you want. It doesn't really matter, there's no rule, but just whatever you want to do. So now we're going to come up to our line style window. First we're going to come up to our line color window, and we're going to change that to white because we want our stitches to be white. Then we'll come up to our line style window. We're going to check or click on this second perforation line, and then we're going to change our line thickness down here to 1.75. And once again, you can just play around with that and decide what you think, hit enter, what you think will work for what you're doing. And then if we zoom that in, you can see that our box now has stitch lines, and that's how you make stitch lines on a tag or anything that you're doing. It's a really fun feature. Next, we want to add a little something to our label. So I'm going to come over here to my Silhouette Studio, or Silhouette Library, I'm sorry, and I want to pick this spider and web. And you can pick any web or anything that you have on hand, or you can download one. The easiest way for me to find this, because my library is not maybe as organized as it should be, is I just type up here in the search bar, I wanted the web and spider, it showed up. Now we're going to click on it, and it will bring it up into our page that we're working on. So now we're going to click on that, and we're going to ungroup it. So Control G, and then we're going to, while it's still all highlighted, we're going to right click and come down here to make a compound path. Now if you don't do those two steps, this next one won't work. So repeat really quick. You're going to bring the spider in, ungroup it while it's still highlighted, make a compound path. If you don't follow those steps, then when you fill it, what's going to happen is, because it's not a compound path, these hollow spaces are all going to be filled also. So we're going to come up to our fill tool and click on the web, and I just want it black. There we go. So now I have a black spider web. We're going to come up here to our line color again and choose no line color and turn off those line colors. And then we're going to scale this down. Now you could just drag it if you wanted to, but I know what size I want it, and I want it a height of 1.25. So I'm going to 1.25. Want to make sure aspect ratio is turned on. Hit apply. And whoops, I think I did the wrong size. So let's hit undo. And it's 1.65 is what I want. Height of 1.65. Much better. And then you can always, if you wanted to, you could drag it, make it bigger, make it smaller, whatever. So now we've got our little box. We're going to go ahead and highlight all of that, and we're going to group it together. Next, we're going to put a word in here. I'm going to type the word spooky. So I'm going to come up to my text tool, and the text that I used is, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, is the I can't even tell you. Barbado. It's B-A-R-B-E-D-O-R-T heavy. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And I want to make sure that my text size is at 72 points. I need to come up to my line style, and I need to turn it back to red, my line color, turn my line style back to a solid line, and then we can go ahead and type our word. And you could capitalize it if you want to. Maybe I'll do that. Okay, now we need to click off of that and click back on it. And the reason we do that is, as I've explained before, we're turning it from a text into a shape. So by clicking off of it and clicking back on it, we are turning that word into a shape. Now we're going to come up here to the fill window, and we're going to get white. And this will actually work better if I slide it over here onto my tag first, because the white isn't going to show up so much. So, okay, and then we're going to do our line style, and our line color, and I'm going to turn that color off. There we go. And you can make this a little bit bigger, smaller. I'm looking at that thinking that I kind of want my spider web to be just a little bit bigger. So I'm going to ungroup it. I'm going to grab my spider web. I'm going to make him a little bit bigger. Then if I group all this back in here again, whoops, I need to send it back because I can't find my word. If you do it one more time, I think my word is back there. Yep, so there's my word. Oh, let's do it one more time. Get that word to come up. Just grab the word, bring it up, there we go. Now we can regroup this whole thing. And what we want to do is, at this point, we need to decide if we're going to make this a 3D tag, meaning we print the back and print the top separately and then glue them together, or if we just want to make one label. For this, I'm just going to make it one label. So what I will do is, while that's highlighted, I'm going to come up here to my cut tool, and all of these red lines are everything that it wants to cut. So it wants to cut the stitch line, the letters, the spider. All I want it to do is not cut anything. If you were going to do it as a 3D, you could hit cut edge, and now it'll cut your label and this outside box, but I don't even want it to do that. So I'm going to put no cut. And then I can just bring this up into here, and we can align this. So we'll go hit the align window. We'll select both those boxes. We're going to hit align center, and there we go. Now, for whatever reason, and I don't know, if I zoom in on this, that middle box to me doesn't look like it's perfectly in the middle, and so I'm just going to use my arrow keys and kind of inch it over just a tad bit so that it looks to me like it's a little more lined up. And then we can go ahead and highlight all of that, group it, and you have your Halloween label. You can go ahead and set that up to print and cut, just like we've explained in class, and go ahead and print it. Now this is going to make a really big label. If you'll notice, it's almost 6 inches down here. And so you can always make it smaller or use your scale tool. Make sure that quick lock aspect ratio is set. And let's say we want it as 2 inches wide if you can do it for a card, and it'll just make it smaller. Or you could say, hey, that's too small, I want it 2 inches tall. Apply. Anything that you want to do, you can make it about any size that you want. So there is your spooky label. Go ahead and play around with that, have lots of fun, and thanks for joining me.